Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shift Break from Keys to the Shop. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm really happy to have you here today, and today we are going to be talking about spiders. Sort of an intentionally cryptic title there, but today we're going to be talking about spiders, but in particular, I want to talk about what spiders can teach us about hospitality. So, one of the things that I think we've all experienced, both as customers and as professionals, is this idea of you only get really addressed and cared for during the transaction in a cafe. But outside of that, like when you first come in the door or after you pick up your drink, you might as well not exist. You kind of disappear into the woodwork and you can kind of sneak out and nobody is going to be aware because nobody's really paying attention. They can't really sense your presence anymore because they're not really tuned into where you are, what's going on. The care has been shifted to what is immediately in front of them. For the baristas, it's the next drink. For the person on the cash register, it is the next customer. And anybody else is sort of on their own. And this is kind of a fast food model that we have in specialty coffee by and large. But if we want to really push specialty retail forward and improve the impression of our work and improve the impression that people have of their specialty coffee retail experience, we will want to go that extra mile. And unfortunately, for the most part, I think people are used to this. This is why we have bus tubs. This is why we have instructions, which is essential to a lot that fast food model where you pick up your drink. We've done the minimal amount of work. And then it's up to you to be able to bus your own table, to find the right place to put things. And, baristas will often get a little pissed that customers don't do more. I am thinking about how much more we can do. How much more can we take on and go the extra mile to really take care of the guest, especially in those areas outside of the places we're normally just interacting with them. So that means after they pick up the drink, that means right when they walk in the door, all of those little places where they kind of fall between the cracks. And that is where our analogy comes in. And I've used this many times when I'm talking to people about hospitality. And that is to kind of be like a spider with a spider web. And by that, what I mean is when a customer comes into your cafe, you immediately jump on them, wrap them up, and then save them for dinner for later. Not really. No, don't do that. But seriously, though, think of your cafe as a spider web, a very benevolent spider web where people want to go, where customers or insects in that spider's case want to be. And they come in when a spider has something fly into its web, it's going to react immediately. Well, it's going to interpret what it is. Is it a leaf or is it a bug? You're going to want to know, you're going to want to pay attention because if you're not paying attention, for the spider, you could miss a meal. And for us, you could miss the opportunity to really make a great impression and turn somebody into a lifelong customer to get that competitive edge of really making them feel cared for. So think of your cafe like a spider web and you are the spider. You're connected to and paying attention to all that goes on in the entirety of the cafe. And everything is connected in the spider web, So if something's happening over in the corner, we should, as the staff, be able to feel, in a sense, what's happening over there because we have put ourselves out that far. We have connected ourselves to that area. We have a vested interest. This requires training. This requires that we talk to our staff about how to go about head-up service. So it's just like it sounds. Have your head up, scan the room, and just collect data points as you scan the room. What are people doing? What is the mood of the room? Read the room. Look for people who look as though they need help. Look for people who are obviously needing a towel because their child just pushed over a hot chocolate, or they're trying to read the table tent to figure out what the Wi-Fi password is. Register these little bits of information. Sometimes you're not going to have an opportunity to use that information. A lot of it's just collecting data and kind of scanning the room, and you won't necessarily need to use it. But if you get in the habit of doing that and being sensitive to what's going on in the lives of your customers during their stay in your cafe, then when the opportunity does come for you to kind of spring into action and respond, you are going to be so prepared to do that. Well, instead, what we have happen is we are pretty myopic in our focus. We look down. We are in that zone where we're making drinks. We haven't looked up in a while. We have a crick in our neck to prove it. And then all of a sudden, from the side comes a customer telling us we are out of half and half, or the toilet paper is out in the bathroom, or do you have a towel because, fill in the blank. Well, Lord only knows. All of these things might be inevitable. They might be something you could have solved if you were more aware of what's going on in the cafe. But if you're practicing seeing your cafe like this spider web and connecting yourself to what goes on in all parts of that web, then it'll be easier for you to sort of intuit what's needed and even preemptively take care of things before they become issues. Another thing is interesting is a spider web will become damaged. That means an insect can kind of fly through it and not get stuck. That's not good for the spider. When we lose customers, oftentimes it's because our web is damaged, because a table is not properly bussed and they have to end up doing all the work to do it themselves, just so they have room for their party to sit. They end up going to the bathroom and reaching for the toilet paper, like I said before, and there's nothing there. So they end up having to use paper towels. These are all little checks against the cafe. And think of those as kind of like holes in the web that need to be prepared, because if they're not, it means that people will not be immediately grabbed by the experience that they have in the cafe, much like they wouldn't be grabbed by the web that the spider has if there's a hole in it. So there's a few things to think about here. And of course, all analogies break down after a while, so we won't belabor it that much. But it's useful, and I think there's two main points here. Be aware of all that's going on in the cafe and have a sensitivity to what's happening in the room with the individuals who are having a coffee in the cafe. The second thing, just like a spider would repair a web out of self-interest, obviously, we should do the same things with our cafes. Make sure that they are prepared to receive people the way that it should be. So let's take a lesson from spiders and their web. The next shift that you have, keep your head up, look out through the cafe, connect yourself to every part of that cafe, and just practice a sense of presence and sensitivity and maintain the space in a more detailed and holistic way. And, we should be striving to show care in total and not just out of obligation. And this is one of the ways that will help us in retail deliver an excellent experience to our guests and improve the opinion of the cafe in the minds of the consumer globally. So that's it for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I hope that you join me next Thursday for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.